Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to our post-holiday weekend Zoom program. It's wonderful to have you here today on January 27th. The year is almost waning from us. So thank you so much. I'm Kurt Witcher, manager of the Genealogy Center here at the Allen County Public Library. We hope we are informative this afternoon. We really encourage as much crowdsourcing in the Q&A as well as the chat. This is kind of a special program. Put the specific questions in the Q&A, but also in the chat, include suggestions and comments that you might have for some of the computer genealogy program questions that come up. We really like the fact that you crowdsource so well. So just a quick review, as we've done in the past. Your hello, we love to hear that. We love to see so many people here already on a very cold day in January, but warmer than this weekend. Not January, but December, but warmer than this weekend. So wonderful to have you here. Put your greetings, crowdsourcing, chatting with yourself in the chat. Put your specific questions in the Q&A. At least one is already there. I looked at it just a few moments ago. It's about an Apple program. So that'll be interesting and challenging for all of us. We have two of my colleagues joining us on camera this afternoon, Cynthia Theusch and Allison Singleton. We like to say it really takes a village, right? And we've heard that expression in so many different venues. So this afternoon, we're the village. Cynthia and Allison are going to lead out with their expertise, with what they know, what they believe. They're going to give you some tips and tricks. They're probably going to provide you with a lot of here, check here, click here. But that's how we learn things. As we know, with computer programs being updated all the time, as they need to be, as we want them to be, there's always little buttons, little different changes in procedures. So thank you again for joining us this afternoon. I'm going to share my screen if I can real quickly and just show you again the Genealogy Center's website, right? So you can scroll down to see today's program. There's no handout for today, but you can see all the other programs we have lined up for the coming weeks. Please click on those and register for them. We'd love to have you as our participant group in 2023. I've already started writing 2023 on some things, so I don't know what that says about me. Usually I'm into the first quarter still writing the last year's date, so maybe that means I'm better prepared and you all are better prepared for the new year. I kind of doubt it, but maybe. So that's where you can see all of our forthcoming programs. I'm going to stop screen share now, and I'm going to just briefly introduce my two colleagues who really are part of, I think, a first-class reference team here in the Genealogy Center. Cynthia Theusch has been with us almost 15 years. I know Cynthia would say it only seems like 15 days. I'm just joking. She does yeoman service on our Ask Desk. She is a senior genealogy librarian. Allison Singleton is our genealogy services manager. She's been with us over 6 years. She comes with great experience from the Indiana Historical Society and from other historical organizations on which she serves as a board member. So amongst all the weather that seems to plague our country and all the post-holiday doldrums we might get ourselves in, let's take this hour to have some fun, throw some questions out, see what kind of responses we get. Again, Q&A is great for questions. We'll be watching the chat extra carefully this afternoon for questions in the chat. And let's kick it off. I'm going to hand it off to you, Cynthia, as someone who plays with a number of different genealogy programs. So if you want to unmute yourself and if you have any first words of wisdom to share with us. My words of wisdom are really pedestrian. That is, genealogy program equals constant change and constant opportunities, right? So
yeah. All right. Basically, I have done a lot of playing with Family Tree Maker since it was a DOS program. And it was on the little floppy 3-inch hard disk.
That was a few days ago.
Yeah, I'm kind of aging myself there a little bit, but yeah. I got it as a gift from my babysitter. Her brother was using it and really liked it. And the program looked like little index cards. Not like the screenshots we see now in the programs, but it was just index cards. You went from one to another, to another, to another. And as years came through, they started making it where it worked well together. Because when I converted it to Roots Magic, my husband was married to his second great aunt, which was quite comical when I saw that, and he had to fix everything and correct it.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's one just general takeaway, and I don't want to in any way make our wonderful participants groan with how pedestrian this comment is, but the best computer program doesn't fix or change bad input. So,
But when you switch from DOS and you go into a window, I think there's a lot of different kind of coding behind the screen that might not have gotten caught right away. So
Sure.
yeah.
Sure.
So when anything upgrades, you do have a little few tweaks you got to fix.
Right. So
major.
I think that's a great beginning, Cynthia, too. Not to put you on the spot, but do you have like a tip or two or something you really like about the latest version of Family Tree Maker that you're using? Or have you totally gone over to Roots Magic?
No, I use the Family Tree Maker a lot more than I do Roots, but I like to try it once in a while because that way if someone sends me a tree instead of hooking into mine, I might put it in Roots Magic or Legacy, or I might want to use some of their different charts that's not in Family Tree Maker. So that's why I use the other ones, is they might have something different that I want to see what it does. But I always go back to Family Tree Maker. And right now I like it because I have a tree vault, which is in the cloud for my files. And I can access it from at least 2 to 3 other equipment, like an iPad or a tablet, or even my phone. I can look. I might not be able to type edit them while I'm using another equipment, but like if I'm traveling somewhere and someone asks me a question, I can quickly pull up my tree and answer them of what I have or what I found, which I never could before, because you try to think in your head what's new, what's not, what was very unique and unusual that we found. So
very good.
Easy
I like that.
access.
I like that. So on a number of different devices, you can check and provide some really good information.
Yes.
So I'll get back to why you use Roots Magic in a moment. But I wanted to invite Allison to talk about the best features, or maybe the current best features of whatever genealogical data management program you use.
Well, I have different software that I use. And that's actually something that you guys will discover if you talk to any one of us. We all use something different because we have different needs and different things that we want out of the software. And that's going to be true of all of you as well. So if you ever come in and say, well, what software should I get? We'll go, we don't know. It depends. What are you looking for? And we'll give you a list. So don't ever think that there's just one shoe fits all. Like, you cannot find something like that. You got to figure out what's the best for you and your purposes. So something that I use that isn't nearly as popular as Roots Magic or Family Tree Maker is Tribal Pages. It's web-based, so I can access it from anywhere. And I truly enjoy using it. My family can access it and they can't change anything because I have it password protected for edits. It's password protected to access. So my family has to actually, I don't know, talk to me in order to get that information. Because, you know, I have living people in there and it does have their actual information. So I want to make sure that I respect everyone. And so that information is pretty easy to find. Oh, I'll pull it up so I can show you guys.
Sure, that would be helpful. And it's tribal, TRIBAL pages, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So here's Tribal Pages. I find it really easy to use. I've been using it since 2006. No problems whatsoever. It's what I enjoy using. It doesn't link to Ancestry or Family Search or any of those. So you're not able to just pull the data over. So you have to input it or upload.
So if I can interrupt you just for a second, Allison, I really am glad that you're showing this, you're demonstrating this. So when you say it doesn't download directly, so we can say that there's no hinting in tribal
Right.
pages, right?
Correct. There's no
Okay.
hinting. You can't pull things over directly. So it's very much you are putting the information in. Now, what's really nice is there's lots of different things that you can do. They do have different ones that you can purchase per month if you want, or the free one. They have notes. They have all sorts of different things that you can do. So I do highly recommend it if this is something that you're looking for. It's not for everyone.
So asking probably a stupidly obvious question, but I'm good at those questions. Highly mobile, right?
Yes, and it's also got an app for my phone. So whenever somebody asks me a question, I just pull it up on my phone. And what's also really nice is it has current birthdays and anniversaries. So if somebody is like, hey, I can't remember cousin Chuck's birthday, can you pull it up for me really quick? Sure, okay. Because most of the time they forget the username and password, and that's okay with me.
Right. Excellent. Well, thank you both for that. Let's get to our first couple of questions and see how we do with these. We have from Cynthia, another Cynthia. I have an apple and had reunion now, nothing now, looking for ideas. So had an apple, then had reunion, or she has an apple, had reunion, nothing now, looking for ideas.
Okay, so I've been actually asking people in the background since I saw that question. So the first person I asked is actually not here, but my colleague Elizabeth, who answered very quickly. She has a Mac and she uses Family Tree Maker, and she prefers that because it integrates into Ancestry.
Okay, so she kind of putting words in her mouth, hopefully not inappropriately. She likes the hinting. She likes being able to download things. I like to point this out, and the two of you can chastise me for it if you don't think it's valuable. But the last I checked, which I must admit was early in 2022, Family Tree Maker still has by far the lion's share of the market, meaning well over 60% of the market. In fact, depending on whose intelligence you read, it's more than 75% of the market. I also understand from the few Mac friends that I have that it's the most solid Mac program. I can't vouch for that. I'm just repeating what I heard from friends, relaying for a friend instead of asking for a friend. So perhaps Family Tree Maker, importing from reunions. Reunion is, I haven't seen a program in many years that does not have, a JetCom utility. So importing shouldn't be a problem. The only thing we could muse on, I really don't want to get into the subject unless there's a groundswell, is, gosh, wouldn't it be nice for a transmission protocol that would actually transmit more than what JetCom does? But I think there's a line of 1 million people behind that statement. So we'll just leave that one there.
Well,
So
I do have another response for the Mac. And that is from Kate, who's actually on here, but she's on desk. So if she wants to throw her response in the chat, she can. But she did say that she uses Ancestry, which honestly, I use Ancestry too. That's my research site. I have a personal version of Ancestry that I pay for. I have a branch for each grandparent, but I then take that information and put it into tribal pages. So I have one big tree.
Right.
So it's up to you guys.
That's a good point. You can go totally online. I feel compelled to say, if you're doing Ancestry, you can do Family Search too. There are a number of sites where you can you can put up your tree. And they each operate a little differently. So you might want to check on that. I don't want to use my wife's experience as necessarily the ultimate in experiences, but she went to a couple of different online trees before she settled on the one that she settled on, and her experiences were a little rocky, let's say. And she did settle on Ancestry, so she doesn't have a genealogical data management program that she purchased, but hers is on Ancestry. So are we ready to move on from that question? Janine says, I would like to know your opinion of the Roots Magic program. So I'm going to jump in here because I'm probably the neophyte here. I'm going to jump in with sort of a 70,000 foot level. So what I like about Roots Magic is that it's done by a programmer, and he's got some cohorts, but he worked for another not to be named company before he founded his own company, Roots Magic. Bruce Busby is just a top shelf programmer, top shelf guy. He and his wife do genealogy. They understand it. The program is as intuitive to someone like me as any other program could be. I like what you can do with it. You get a small amount of cloud storage space with it. The book production feature on Roots Magic, I've seen the results of that, really fine, but most good programs have a book production feature. So that's sort of the higher level. What do you like about it, Cynthia?
Well, I like it because there's a lot of other features. It's easy to use. It's quicker to learn than Family Tree Maker. I mean, Family Tree Maker, you might have some issues you might have to look at differently, but I've been using Family Tree Maker for a lot, but I do like Roots Magic. It's simple and easy to just pick up and do. You've got a free version to try first, and then to get more of a deluxe edition, it costs you a little bit more, less expensive than Family Tree Maker. So budget wise, it's really, really fitting. Same thing with Legacy. It's easy to use, free version, more of a cost to a deluxe, but it's similar to Roots Magic's price. And Family Tree Maker, I think, is just double the cost. But I like the idea that a genealogy programmed Roots Magic. So then, you know, you get your wish list when you're out at conferences and stuff, you're talking to each other. Why doesn't my software do this when I really want to see this piece? Bruce is there. He knows what it is. He knows how he wants his trees to look. And that really is another good plus for Roots Magic. If I would have tried Roots Magic before Family Tree Maker, where I have 6,000 names, my husband's family plus my own, I probably easily would have done it. But I can switch and download later on if I needed to, if I had complications and wanted something quick and simple and understanding to use.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It is lots of features.
So
have you had any
the free ones, and then you can decide what you want.
No, that's huge, Cynthia. That really is huge. I really like the take it for a spin before you buy it kind of a thing. Yeah.
And even We Relate is a nice little tiny feature, but other people can contribute, which is the only thing is they can add to yours.
Yeah.
But even We Relate would be a nice way of learning how a tree looks, works, connects, and whatever.
Did you have any thoughts or experiences or from people you know, Allison?
I've never used Roots Magic, so unfortunately, I don't really have anything wise to throw in here.
Yeah. Do you know, Cynthia? The other Cynthia is asking again. Is there an Apple version for Roots Magic?
I don't think so yet. I know people have asked Bruce, but I'm not sure if he's gone that route or not.
Their website says they do.
They do?
Okay.
I did Google that.
All right. Because I haven't been on their site for a little while yet because, But I know people were asking Bruce to make a Mac version.
Very good. Very good. Thank you both. So reading on through the Q&A, Linda asked, when you back up to an external, my screen just rolled on me. When you back up to an external hard drive, are you losing the tree in the tree vault and having to re-upload. I am and did chat with the gentleman from Family Tree Maker, and they all said it was to upload it again. Does that make sense? When you back up to an external hard drive, are you losing the tree in the tree vault and having to re-upload it into the tree vault?
When you back up your tree, it's automatically, it's a file folder that you use like any other stuff, but I've never really tried to do it with the vault. To check to see when I open it back up, but
Okay.
backup is just a group of files that you don't want to lose should your computer blow up on you or really go dead. And you've got all those names and you don't want to retype. That's what your
Right.
backup's for. It's to protect you from redoing your work.
So we need to perhaps have a little exploratory, maybe even after the session, like what's the syncing relationship between when you just pull something off onto a hard drive and how does that relate to what's in your tree vault? I would think that if it's folder, you could just pull off the folder onto your hard drive and you'd be okay. But again, I haven't done that, so don't take that as
I have moved my folder back on when I switched laptops
with success.
with success. Yes.
Okay.
But that
Cool.
was before, and on the tree vault is just saying is it's an extra copy you save out in the cloud. You can pull it up anywhere. And so I should be able to, with maybe their computer support group, have them walk me through on pulling it back up from the cloud into a new laptop should I need to. But I always have my external drive also, so.
Okay.
John Arford put a comment in there saying you need to rename the tree before uploading, not to lose the first tree.
Definitely,
So
yes.
there's a tip.
You want to
Yeah.
do that on any of your software. You always want to rename it so you have one that you've used and know it's all there, and then just put a new name on it. Mhm.
Okay. So Barbara has a couple more questions here. I currently have my family trees on Ancestry DNA and use Family Tree Maker for backup on my home computer. That's not really a question, but maybe the next one. Sorry about that. What are the minimum requirements for a laptop using Ancestry DNA and Family Tree Maker software? That I don't know off the top of my head. I bet that's easily
Neither do
discoverable.
I.
It's easily discoverable on their websites, but I would think that any computer that is relatively contemporary, you should have more than enough space. Most computers that I get, if they don't have, into the double digits of gigabytes for hard drives and 8 gigs of processing, I'm thinking that you shouldn't have any trouble. If your computer is 10 years old, might have some processing issues. I have a 10-year-old computer that I don't use for anything except word processing when everything else isn't working, or I don't have access to other things. But that's really dangerous if it's connected to anything. 5 years is a long time in computer years.
Oh, yeah.
5 years is like what, an 80-year-old dog, I think. An 80-year-old dog is like, I don't know. Thoughts from Allison, Cynthia?
So Google, my best friend, has told me from the Family Tree Maker website what the requirements are, and it's Windows 7 or later, 900 MB hard disk space, 2 gigabytes of RAM, 4 is recommended, and then the screen resolution. I put it in the chat.
Well, so if I can just comment on that quickly, thank you for that, Allison. So it's less than a gig of hard drive space. Oh my gosh. If you don't have many gigs of hard drive, you're in trouble from just about anything. 2 gigs of processing, most any computer in the last, I don't know, someone will probably correct me, but the last 5 or 6 years comes with nothing less than 4, most are 6 or 8. The gamers have 12 to 15. I mean, You should be okay unless you have a really ancient computer that you haven't updated.
I noticed the computers on sale now when I walked around just to look, that they're really doing like 8 gigabytes of RAM memory.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I have a terabyte of hard drive space
Right.
on my laptop. So it's like, okay, but I have a 2 terabyte external drive, so I can put lots of stuff on my external. So yeah.
Good deal. Good deal. So, is there any way to print paper tree copies from Ancestry, or do I need to merge onto something like Family Tree Maker?
You can print from Ancestry, it's just not pretty, and you can't get the whole tree on one page because they don't want you to.
They divide it up.
So if you want a pretty printed page, you've got to put the information elsewhere.
And there's actually a company, and I'm blanking on it here on a cold Tuesday afternoon. Is it called Chart Masters or
Charting Companion or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, they exhibited almost every
Yeah.
actual conference. Of course, it's been a few minutes since we've had an in-person conference, but they do some amazing charts with just, you know, a disc of your data. So
yeah, in Legacy, Roots Magic, and Family Tree Maker, you can download those special larger tree sizes. So you can take it to a different company and use it and make big trees.
And actually, that's one of the reasons I like tribal pages, because you can make really pretty charts in there.
okay, so another thing, you'll be driving some traffic to tribal pages there, Allison.
They should like me. It's Family Chart Masters, I believe, is what you guys were thinking of. So I put it in the chat.
Excellent. Excellent. Just a quick 15 to 20 second interlude / commercial here. If you want a copy of the chat, many of you have been with us before, you know what to do, right? Send an email to genealogy@acpl.info, acpl.info, and we will send you a copy of today's chat. Okay, so let's move on. We've got more questions here. Margaret asks, why wouldn't you want to have your, whoops, that's,
sorry,
scroll
I
down.
just missed the questions.
Do you have a subscription? Do you have to have a subscription to Ancestry to be able to access Ancestry data via Family Tree Maker?
Yeah, I believe you do.
Yes.
You can't get, Ancestry doesn't give you anything for free.
No. And I usually don't sync my Family Tree Maker with Family Search or Ancestry, because I do have a skeleton ancestry tree for my DNA package for both of us, my husband and I get lots of hints. And when I look at some of them, some of the hints are very, very way off base. Like my sister never left Elma, Michigan, and they had her in Massachusetts for a few issues of vital records and stuff. And it's like, nope. Might be someone with the same name, but it's not my sister. I know for a fact she's never been in Massachusetts. So
Right.
Yeah, so you got to really watch those hints anyways, because they're just grabbing names with a close enough date that it could be anybody unless you have a very unusual name.
Right. So it's so easy in the online trees just to make a link in your record to the image or to the information. But more than a few people have caught on to that, including my wife, who takes an image of the image, saves it somewhere else, and then links the image, actually puts the image as an attachment to the person in the tree. And that works a little better for it hanging around. But
yeah.
So I hope we answered your question, Margaret. And let's move on to the next one. Why wouldn't you want to have your database on your own computer, especially if internet connection is not always reliable?
I can answer that. I am not always at my computer when I'm wanting to do research. So perhaps I have my cell phone on me. Perhaps I just have my personal laptop. Maybe I have my work laptop. Probably shouldn't be doing research on that, but still, you never know where you're going to be and what research you're going to come across. Or maybe you have an epiphany, you've been thinking about something, and all of a sudden you're doing something else and you're like, wait a second, that person was related to that person through that person. And you're like, oh, I gotta document this. Sometimes it's just easier to have it right at your fingertips. And that's what I prefer. Again, it's whatever works best for you guys. So Catherine, perhaps it's not something that works for you. You prefer to have it on your desktop, your computer, so you have it physically in front of you. If that's your preference, cool. Not all of us are the same.
Yeah, good point, Allison. And I would like to make the other point, as I'm prone to do. I'm kind of really serious about preservation. And we've all heard about lots of copies keep stuff safe. And yet, I bet if we had like a sober, like no lying survey of just our attendees, I bet a high percentage of us, I'm saying us, not y'all, but us, high percentage of us would fail the lots of copies keep stuff safe test. So why not have it, as you said, Allison, available anytime from anywhere on any device? As I think our attendee, our participant said, I like my own stuff like right here. So why not have it a multiple number of places? Things can go sideways, as we've known over the last 2 to 3 years, right?
Yep.
Things can go sideways really fast. Like whoever thought that we'd have another big pandemic, and we're like in year 3 of the pandemic. Isn't that amazing? Hasn't most, all of our work processes, personal processes, computer processes changed over that time? 4 years ago, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing this afternoon. Shame on us, perhaps, but
Yeah.
it just didn't come across. So all that's a tortured way of saying lots of copies keep stuff safe. So why not do both? Why not find a way to do both?
Well, and
go ahead,
I
Al.
was just going to say that lots of copies do keep things safe. So if you guys don't think that I have all of this stuff that's online backed up, very wrong. Very wrong. I have all sorts of JetCom files. I have things on flash drives. I have things in other states on purpose because lots of copies keeps things safe. Yeah, maybe they're not the most up-to-date versions, but they have the majority of my research. And since I've been researching for like 18 years now, I don't want that lost. I don't want anything to happen to that.
Yeah. Your own self-preservation kicks in there, right?
Uh-huh.
We do know how it feels when our computer crashes and we're looking at, oh my gosh, what do I have safe somewhere on a thumb drive or an external drive? Right. Paper copies, whatever. I mean, you freak out when your computer goes and it's like, what do I do next? Yeah.
You sound like you're talking from experience, Cynthia. Oh my goodness.
I did when I first got started, and I had 4 people using the same computer, and my husband doesn't like computers. So when my son did something, I looked at my husband and said, I just did that 2 weeks ago at work when I thought I was hitting the right button and it almost wiped out my whole computer drive at work. I quickly called IT there. They told me what to touch. And then 2 weeks later, my son does the same thing on my personal computer. And it was like, my husband's yelling at him. I said, no, I can do this. I can do it. And I hit the 2 keys. I don't remember what the keys are. It's been years since I had to do it. And it might change by now. But my husband freaked out. He's always afraid if he touches something, he loses everything in the computer. I said, you can't. You might not find it, but we can find it, But yeah.
So Scott's asking us another Roots Magic. He says, I've been using Roots Magic on my Windows 11 laptop, but the Roots Magic mobile app for my iPhone is horrible and useless. Sorry, Roots Magic, he says parenthetically. Does Family Tree Maker have a better mobile app, and could someone display that here today?
They don't really have a mobile app. It's that Tree Vault where it allows you just to pull up info, but you can't type in it or anything else. You can search for the people, browse through it and stuff, but you can't add anything to it. So it's not really a mobile app. it's an access to your files. You just can't add or delete. You can't modify it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great question, Scott, and a frustrating dilemma, as we really enjoy so many things in our lives, business, personal, etc. Our applications, we really enjoy apps that work and are user friendly. This would be a great question. I apologize, Scott, for punting this one, but this would be a great question for any Family Tree Maker forum, or just emailing directly to Family Tree Maker. Refresh my memory.
Mark Olson.
Mark Olson. Yeah, he doesn't necessarily answer those, but he has a team of people that work with him on answering queries like that about Family Tree Maker. In fact, correct me if I'm wrong, Allison, do we have a recording of Mark Olson's presentation from earlier this year?
We do.
So I'm not sure, Scott, that addresses it directly, but there might be some tips and hints about the mobile app in there.
Let me look.
Okay. Well, Allison is looking for that. I'm going to just scan a few more questions here. A couple questions down, we have Frank who's asking us, does anyone have experience on using the new Roots Magic version 8 with thousands of records in Roots Magic 7? I'm scared to start using Roots Magic 8.
Make an extra file, change the name on it, test it, see how it works. That way you always have your backup file just in case it doesn't click right.
Yeah.
That would be the way to test it, but we know Bruce wouldn't put it out if it wasn't ready.
Yeah. And their help is pretty good as well. And sometimes
Right.
Bruce himself will be be right on there answering the questions. John put into chat, my Roots Magic 8 has 4,520 people. So not quite the size of yours, Frank, but substantial nonetheless. Did you find anything, Allison?
No, I didn't see it. So I'm looking to see if the handout is still online.
Okay. So, but I would contact Roots Magic. Excuse me, Family Tree Maker directly about their app.
They always want suggestions, so.
Right.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying all of the chat comments. Guys, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record. Apps aren't for everyone. Using your cell phone's not for everyone. Just like using a laptop's not for everyone. Some people prefer desktop. Some people prefer Windows.
Yeah.
Some people prefer Mac. Some people prefer, you know what? So
my son uses iPad for his work and stuff, and he will not go to a regular computer right now. He likes it because it's all there right at hand. He can carry it with him. So should someone stop and call him and give him some issues, he can just pull it right up.
So everybody's a little bit different. So we just have to keep that in mind. I know that we're talking about things that perhaps you've never even considered because it wouldn't work for you, and that's okay. All right, there is a handout for Family Tree Maker, and the email at the bottom does go to Mark. So I'm going to put that in the chat.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Allison, for that sleuthing. Just appeared in the chat. So excellent. And you'll get an answer. Okay. So moving on here, is there a program that allows you to add pictures so you can produce descendant trees that include the pictures next to the names?
I think all three of them do. The Legacy, Roots Magic, and I know Family Tree Maker does.
And Reunions does.
Tribal Pages does.
So I think what might be the challenge is getting them to print out the way you would like them to print out. And I can't really speak authoritatively to how you manipulate your data to make it print the way you would like to. That chart making program might be might be a solution. Okay, so moving on to Amy's question. She wants to know, has anyone mentioned Ancestral Quest? I don't know much about Ancestral Quest at all, except that it exists. I haven't heard anyone talk about it positively or otherwise. Haven't seen anyone use it. Cynthia, have you say you haven't either?
I have not used it. I've never really heard it. So yeah.
It's older software. I've heard of it. I've never used it. I'm on their website here. I'm going to share this. It's dated, but they do have stuff for Macs and PCs. It says, welcome to those that are migrating from Family Tree Maker. Click here for special information. And apparently it's compatible with Family Search.
Did you share your screen? Because I'm not seeing it.
Oh no, I shared a link in the chat. Here, I can
okay.
share my screen.
My bad.
Because I have no idea what this is. Here. Y'all can see that.
Yeah.
No, it says it's compatible with Family Search, and there's some sort of special information. And I see Mac. So they have Mac and PC. This is dated. This right here. This makes me happy. So I unfortunately I don't know enough about this to speak
I
about
have
it.
never seen it before. So yeah.
But it looks like it's compatible with a number of programs.
I
But
don't
we
know
all-
this. Yeah. I
We
don't
all know
this-
that compatible can mean different things in different
Yeah.
programs. So
Also, there's a software review on all these, like what are the top users and stuff for the software and how people feel about them.
yeah, and another silo of data is to search the back files of Dick Eastman's online newsletter.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of great information there.
Well,
Okay.
and I would just do a little bit of sleuthing online to see if there's anything that anyone else has said, like
Comments.
reviews.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can find reviews for almost anything these days.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mary asks a good question. Looking at the add-ons for Roots Magic, have any of us used Personal Historian or Family Atlas? I have not used either one myself. I've heard very good things about both from a very limited number of people. So I don't have a large survey. Cynthia, what about you?
I've not used the maps in maybe I did in Roots Magic. They're just showing you where the various people live. It's keeping track of the locations, I think. Same thing with Family Tree Maker. You can do that where you can map it out where who lives in what county or what state or what country. So when you're doing your research, and you can separate special reports on locations so that you have where family surnames are and what locations to help you in your research as you travel.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay. So more research is needed for that one. I wonder if Bruce Busby on the Roots Magic site has any testimonials or any features that are highlighted, etc., that might be worthwhile, worth a shot. So I think Myra has a great question here. She says it's not really a software question, which is fine. But wondering if anyone has a home computer dedicated to genealogy and then use a laptop for travel. And if so, is there a software program more conducive to this type of setup? If I can walk out on a limb a little bit, I think, Allison, this would be an endorsement to sort of your kind of manipulation of data. Let's keep a lot in the cloud so I can get it from anywhere on any device. But
I mean, that's easier for me, but again, I may be in the minority here. It looks like John has that set up. What do you do? How do you use that, John? What's your software of choice?
And while we're waiting for John,
Oh,
Hey,
interesting.
side by side winners there. Yeah.
yeah, Family Tree Maker and Roots Magic 8.
Mhm.
How do
So-
they play with each other? I'm very curious if you're using them equally.
So Family Tree Maker 2019 is the latest,
Yes.
and it was just a tad bit delayed, but
I like that.
The travel thumb drive for Roots Magic. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. I've tried that before. It's fun. But
yeah, so a lot of great advice in chat.
Chat is amazing. You guys are experts.
Yeah,
When we say ask the experts, it's not necessarily us, it's everybody, because we all have such a different knowledge base. Let's utilize it.
so Roy asked a great question for which I don't have any answer at all. So we're throwing it back on everybody. Is there a software that enables multiple names in multiple languages? I wonder if Roy is asking for something more sophisticated than just aliases. Like you can create aliases, almost an infinite number of aliases for any individual. You have any experience with this, Cynthia?
I tried that one time where my one great grandfather had double spellings, but then it was almost like it duplicates the families and stuff a lot. Or it tries to take one name and make the other one something different. And it doesn't recognize very well with multiple. I would put it in like a personal notes
Okay.
on the software saying he goes by, this is his original birth name, this is what he switched it to anglicize it or whatever. Just do a whole listing of names that you might find that person on, and it'd be in your software program. You can always check your personal notes or your research notes if you put it in your research notes to make sure that you're catching every kind of name possible that individual went by.
Yeah, I'm wondering and totally wondering out loud whether Roy is interested in being able to choose which name might display on a printed tree or which name might display on something shared with another family member or another group. So
Yes.
Good point, Cynthia, about notes. I think notes are underutilized, but Roy might be looking for something a little more sophisticated than that. But capture that data for sure, Cynthia.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't lose that data. Thoughts on that, Allison? Do you have any experience with multiple languages?
Well, I've been doing a little bit of research just because I'm kind of curious about it. It looks like a lot of the softwares have the option to change the characters, so you can at least have the characters in the correct language for whatever you're using. So the spelling could be helpful with that. But I'm also curious, it looks like there's international versions of some software which could be helpful depending on what languages you're looking for. And then another thing is if you're looking for something that's specific to one particular country, one particular language, see if there's genealogy software that's preferred in that country as opposed to what's preferred here. That might actually work the best for what you're trying to do.
That is an excellent answer, excellent comment, Allison. And that brings to mind, one of my daughters-in-law was born in Belgium, and they have like a really popular program over there that so many people use, and it's nothing like any of the programs we use. It's not Family Tree Maker, it's not anything. It's I can't even remember the name of it, but that brought to mind, Allison, that's a great suggestion, really great suggestion. Okay. So Michelle is joining the club here saying, I may be a little behind the level of knowledge here, but can someone explain a GEDCOM or a GED file and how you get one and what do you do with it? Does anyone want to take a stab at that? So I'll start out.
Go for it.
GEDCOM, you can use Allison's favorite friend, Google, and you can find a lot about it. You can go to Family Search's website and find a lot about it. But GEDCOM, GEDCOM is, and I'm using my own language here, so don't anyone get too wrought up about any technical language. I call it a transmission protocol. So you have a database in Roots Magic, in Kurt's favorite genealogy program, and Allison's wonderful, glorious program, and Cynthia's this, that, the other thing, whatever program. It's I'm going to call it small U utility, where you have information in your program, you use the GEDCOM protocol to extract out the information. Right now, GEDCOM will only extract data. It won't bring pictures and images of documents along with the individuals. It extracts the data and puts it in a GEDCOM file. Then every single program that you buy today, and I'm going out on a limb here, and some people have made jokes about me going out on a limb, but going out on a limb here that any program that's worth anything today should have a GEDCOM utility on it. So let's say I have all my information in Family Tree Maker. I want to put it into reunions. I use GEDCOM to download it from Family Tree Maker, and I use GEDCOM to upload it into reunions or Legacy or Family Tree Maker or Roots Magic. So it's the utility. You don't have to pay extra for it. It's a utility that transfers data out of one program into another program, a genealogical program. So it's a genealogical utility. I'm sure there's a better sophisticated explanation for that, but you can look in your Explorer, wherever you have your program, Family Tree Maker, Windows, I mean, not Windows, but Roots Magic, and you can see little GEDCOM utility. That's what you use to basically transfer your data, so you don't have to rekey, as Cynthia said a couple of times. You know, rekey 6,000.
Bad. No, yeah,
Right.
no.
So I hope that's at least makes sense. So it's kind of a program that sits in the middle of two, so that you can crosswalk or you can transmit information between two different programs. And we just need, Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates to have a programmer or two on sabbatical for a year, and they'd come up with an amazing transmission protocol, I bet, that would be more what we're looking for.
GEDCOM is a nice way of sharing your files and not have to have the same program.
Yep. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I did put something in the chat because it is important to throw in. It doesn't transfer everything, so beware of only capturing the GEDCOM files. Capture everything you've put in your software separately.
Right.
So yeah, you don't have to rekey everything, which is brilliant. It's an incredible time saver.
Yeah.
But make sure that you're also pulling those pictures, those documents, whatever else you're putting in there, because those won't transfer.
Yeah, that is such a good point, and that's what I meant by saying only the data, only like the keyed data. Probably not a correct statement to say, but only the ASCII data. I mean, only the keyed data. So yeah, I know so many people that are so disappointed when they have this pretty elaborate attached pictures, attached documents, attached images, and they transfer it, and it's like, where did it all go? It's like, well, as you just said, Allison, it doesn't transfer all of that. That's next generation software, which we've been musing about for a while. So good deal. Let's move on to Miriam's question. My friend in the local history club always asks, can it handle Cyrillic characters, Greek characters, etc.? Just punning with you a little bit on a Tuesday afternoon. It all depends on what you mean by handle. So in the words of a famous former president, it all depends on what the definition of is. So yeah, automatic translate to different languages, different characters. You were mentioning something about that earlier, Allison, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, so I mean, there are different software that you can get that you can have the language translate. I was actually looking, I've seen a couple recommendations of Gramps, which I've never used, which I think is very interesting. Apparently it's an open source,
Right.
which I've never used. But apparently it supports multiple languages, which is kind of neat. So you might want to look at that if that's something that you're interested in, but also just look at the different softwares and see what they actually support. And a lot of times you'll be surprised, either good or bad.
Right. Right. So a little more research needs to be done. The questions that you're asking us are really great questions.
Mhm.
And as you go out to get the latest version of your favorite genealogy software, or maybe you've grown bored with or tired of your genealogical software and you're looking to make a cautious, sober, eyes wide open kind of move, these are the kinds of questions you want to be asking, if you will, reading the documentation, reading the reviews. How does it support different languages? We are a nation of immigrants and have been for centuries, so we can find all kinds of records. Just think 2 generations from now, what our children and our grandchildren will be looking at record-wise in this country of immigrants. So these questions are never going to go away, meaning we need to look for ways of finding programs that deal with different character sets. Absolutely.
I don't know who put this together or why. It's on Wikipedia, so take that for what you
Yeah.
want. But there's a chart that somebody has gone through and they've done comparisons on different features for software, and it doesn't include web-based software. So you won't find things like tribal pages or anything like that.
Okay.
But if you look through, the bottom chart actually has languages.
Really?
Let me share my
Okay.
screen, because I was just a little bit stunned by that. I was like, oh, that's a thing. So I've never seen this before. I just found it because I was trying to look around a little bit. It doesn't have, well, it has Russian here. So if you're looking for Russian, partial for some of these. But I just think it's really interesting to go through these. And you can see what languages are supported.
Right. Also informative, Allison, because what our participant asked for, Greek and Cyrillic, not supported, not listed here in the columns. Doesn't mean it's not supported, just means it's not listed here in the chart. But
Exactly.
what a nice chart. Oh my goodness.
And they have other things too, like if you need any of this information. I was just like, oh, these are different. Okay.
And so you've put this in chat, right?
I put it in chat.
Excellent.
Guys, take it
Thank
for
you
what
so
it's
much.
worth. It's Wikipedia. Anybody can update this. But at the same time, who is going to take the time to screw up this chart?
I wouldn't tempt fate, but I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Okay. Janine asks, if you run out of computer program questions, could you recommend some books giving guidance on how to write your family history? That's a great question. I just wanted to read it, and we'll come back to it before the bottom of the hour. And we're almost there at the bottom of the hour, aren't we? So let's just pause that one for just a moment and see if we can't hit on just a couple of more. Matt asked a question. If you keep your tree on an online system like Ancestry or MyHeritage, who owns the data? And I think the answer is yes. And I don't mean that as silly as it might sound, but if it's in their tree, I believe if you read the fine print, they kind of, can use it in any way that looks like and sounds like ownership. But read the fine print. Everyone is a little bit different. One of the many reasons to keep a copy of your data with you. They may own it legally, but if you got a copy, you can continue to use it. That's a great question. And with DNA kits, we've mentioned this, and Sarah Allen, our colleague's wonderful DNA programs, and we'll mention it here too. Read the fine print. Allison, I hope I don't disclose anything you don't want disclosed, but her husband has been on our program a couple times. I mean, he's a lawyer and he would tell you that too. Oh my gosh, read the fine print. Like
Mhm.
what are you signing? When you agree to this DNA kit, what are you signing? It's the same thing with My Heritage, Ancestry, and Family Tree Maker. When you're putting something in someone else's cloud, what does that mean? What are you entitled to? Can you say, take this down? Good question, Matt. Excellent question.
Hey, Kurt.
Yep.
I know you said we were going to come back to it, but I thought it would be a good time to put in our Pathfinder for the next steps and discoveries, because it has writing family histories, but it also has information on genealogical software. And so this is something we've put together, and then that way everybody just has it.
Excellent. That is a great segue, as we have literally arrived at the bottom of the hour. Do you want to share screen and just show where that Pathfinder is? I know you put it into chat and I appreciate that, but
I would be happy to. Let me share my screen really quick. We are on the Genealogy Center website, genealogycenter.org, or whatever garbage this is. You go up here to Pathfinders and you're going to go to Subjects. Once you're in Subjects, you're going to go over here to Next Steps and Discoveries. Bada bing, bada boom. And if you scroll down, the genealogical software is here and writing is down here.
that is an excellent way to wrap up this hour. Thank you so much for that, Allison. And thank you, Cynthia, for the really great advice that you gave. I think if anyone's heard anything from the three of us this afternoon, one, it takes a village. It takes all of us sharing knowledge. Please continue to do that in your local genealogical societies, amongst your family, your friends. We know so much more together than we do individually. So thank you very much for that. Thank you, Allison and Cynthia, for the great advice that you gave here this afternoon. I hope I didn't misguide or steer anyone away with my verbose answers. But again, I think we emphasized a few things that are important. Lots of copies keep stuff safe, work together. Go to the genealogical data management websites and just see the fine print. I know no one likes to read the fine print. Can be very instructive, can be very informative as we continue to want the best in our genealogical data management software, right? Because we want to share, we want family members to enjoy the research that we've done, and even more, right? We want it to survive us. We want our children and our grandchildren and our grandchildren's grandchildren to benefit from what we're doing here today and tomorrow. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Please do join us on Thursday evening if you have nothing better to do as you're cruising into the New Year's celebrations over the weekend. We'd love to have you here on Thursday evening at 6:30. Please do email us for a copy of the chat. So much good information's in the chat, genealogy@acpl.info. And we hope to see you soon. Take care, be safe, stay warm if that's still an issue in your area of the country, as it is ours. So we look forward to seeing you on Thursday or in the new year. Take care.